And finally, I want to talk to you about streamers' rights. Last week, we discussed the Nintendo Partner Program ending monetization for all live streams on YouTube. 2 weeks ago, I kind of buried the hatchet with Nintendo. I wanted to give them a chance. And honestly, I didn't think I would have to talk about Nintendo for another month or 2 months. But literally a week and a half later, and we have this. However, after doing a little more digging into this, I learned Nintendo is not alone. Companies like Capcom, Atlus, Sega, and Campo Santo have all had runs of issuing DMCAs over copyrighted content. A DMCA is issued when an artist or a corporation feels that their copyrighted material is being used to generate revenue without their permission. Now, copyright law does permit fair use, and fair use is oftentimes found in these 7 categories. Fair use is permitted in commentary, search engines, criticism, parody, news reporting, research, and scholarships. To determine whether your content falls into one of those 7 categories, the legal system uses 4 factors of fair use. The first factor raises the question of what is the character of your use? Is it commercial? Is it educational? Both of these factors are fine. In fact, the first factor is described by the Copyright Act of 1976. To justify, one must demonstrate how it either advances knowledge or the progress of the arts through the addition of something new. In other words, does your content transform the original work in a sense that it provides its own voice and purpose away from the original work? Now, under this factor is where you see things like commentary, criticism, and parody fall into fair use. However, the key word here is transformative. Your content has to be transformative. It has to create its own purpose outside of just being gameplay footage. The second factor of fair use looks into the nature of the copyrighted work. This factor was created to prevent private ownership of material that belongs in the public domain. A prime example of this is after the assassination of John F. Kennedy. The Zapruder film, which captured the entire assassination on film, was purchased and copyrighted by Time magazine. When a schoolbook publisher decided to use stills or screenshots from the footage and put it into their textbooks, Time magazine sued them, but the courts shot the lawsuit down, saying that that footage belongs to the public domain. One person does not own that footage. The third factor of fair use looks into the amount of sustainability for the portion used in relation to the copyright material as a whole. Simply put, how much of the copyrighted material did you use? Is your contribution and portion larger than the original copyrighted work? More importantly, if you were to take the copyrighted material out of it, would it stand on its own? The fourth and final factor of fair use looks into what effect does the use have on a potential market for, or the value of the copyrighted work. The courts have defined this by saying, the courts not only investigate whether the defendant's specific use of the work has significantly harmed the copyright owner's market, but also whether such use is in general, if widespread, would harm the potential market of the original. The burden of proof here rests on the copyright owner, who must demonstrate the impact of the infringement on commercial use of work. Now, in order for your created content to be protected under fair use, there are some factors you want to keep in mind. Number 1, your work needs to be transformative from the original piece. Your work cannot have any effect on the market value of said copyright. And finally, your voice needs to be much bigger. Your content needs to be much bigger compared to the content of the copyrighted work. Now, I want this to be very clear. For the last 2 weeks, I have done nothing but read copyright law, and it is boring as hell. But the one glaring detail in all of this is there has not been a modern-day ruling when it comes to live streaming, which means until there is a ruling protecting streamers, the developers, publishers, they can literally do whatever they want and issue a copyright claim on any video you make. Look, as a streamer, I understand this is a touchy subject. There are thousands of streamers out there that earn their living by streaming video games. They pay off their mortgage. They put food on the table by playing video games for thousands of viewers. That's cool. That's awesome. But there's people who defend that by saying this is the new trend. It's too big to fail. No video game company has the right to shut it down. And to that, I want to say, look, Nintendo is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. A corporation that has a team of legal professionals. And if that team of legal counsel is telling them that the Nintendo Partner Program is legal, that demonetizing any video outside of the program or any live stream is legal, what fight do streamers like you and I have? Which that raises an even better question, is if Nintendo is capable of banning monetization on any live stream on YouTube, what's stopping Nintendo from turning its eyes and looking directly at Twitch and demonetizing live streams there? Look, Twitch is a very, very smart company. And if Nintendo, who is the world's third largest publisher of games, gave them the ultimatum saying, Nintendo gets all the ad revenue, streamers get nothing, or you can't put any of the Nintendo games on your platform, I guarantee you Twitch is going to side with Nintendo. And if you don't believe me, this is directly from their terms of service. Twitch respects the intellectual property of others and follows the requirements set forth in the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. If you are a copyright owner or an agent thereof and believe the content posted on Twitch services infringes upon your copyright, please submit a notice following our DMCA guidelines, which include further information about our policies, what to include in your notice, and where to submit your notice. Which brings us full circle to the topic of streamers' rights. And unfortunately for streamers like you and me, we have zero rights. Because the base idea of live streaming is taking a copyrighted video game, putting our face cam over it, having a few follower notifications and donation alerts, and that's it. Now, the argument often portrayed by live streamers is that their work transforms the original gameplay, that their commentary or criticism is qualified as fair use, and in some cases, I agree with that. There are live streamers out there, the upper echelon or the 2% of live streamers, that have evolved gameplay, that their voice and their appearance is more powerful than the actual game itself. Prime example here is Dr. Disrespect. He has created a product that dwarfs the actual gameplay itself. People go to a Dr. Disrespect stream to see him, not the gameplay footage. This is a prime example of fair use. But ask yourself this, how many Dr. Disrespects are on Twitch? Even better, how many streams have you been into where there is no face cam, where there is no mic, and the streamer is just streaming nothing but video game? Is that fair use? And you see, that's where the problem lies. Is yes, you do have that upper 5% of streamers who have evolved the video gameplay and have created a persona or a voice that's more powerful than the actual game itself. But underneath that, you've got a whole bunch of streamers that aren't doing anything to evolve or transform the product. So as a developer, you got to say, dude, you're literally just giving out free copies of my game and showing free run-throughs. Prime example of this in action would be earlier this year. Atlas USA issued an embargo over its upcoming game of Persona 5. Now, I've got to say, I was like many streamers who were outraged by this. I posted tweets saying, I've never bought an Atlas game before, but I can guarantee you because of this, I'm never going to buy another one. But I got to take those back and I got to retract those statements, because after doing weeks of research on copyright law and streamers' rights, Atlas had all the right in the world to do that. You see, Persona 5 is such a story-rich game that the developer was worried that anyone who live streamed the game could jeopardize future sales of Persona 5. Someone could literally watch a stream, understand the entire story, and be like, wow, I now know the beginning, the middle, and the end. I don't need to buy a game. Now, those of you familiar with this situation know that Atlas USA lifted the embargo and allowed everyone to stream Persona 5. But what's really telling about this issue is this is a gaming developer who is clearly saying that live streaming of a game leads to lost sales. And this is where a lot of streamers begin to splinter off in the argument. On one side, you've got streamers saying, look at PUBG. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds was built on live streaming. The game creator himself credits Twitch to the success of the game. But I like to raise the question of, how many games have you not bought because you saw someone stream it and you were like, I'm good. I can create a list of games that I didn't buy because I saw someone stream it. Literally every single Telltale game I've watched played on Twitch. And because those are such a story-rich game, I'm like, I know how it ends. I don't need to buy the game now. Under fair use, that is a loss of sale. But why is any of that important? Well, let me tell you, if a gaming developer or a publisher can prove that prior to Twitch we sold X number of copies of Call of Duty, and in current day we sold far less, that would be enough to issue a DMCA and say no one is allowed to stream a video game. This next part I want to make very crystal clear because it's very important. I am not a lawyer. I have no legal experience. I'm just a guy who read way too much copyright law over the last 2 weeks instead of playing Destiny 2. But if a normal guy like me can read copyright law and make a connection between point A and point B, imagine what a guy who gets paid $500,000 a year to be a lawyer could do. And in a very long-winded way, this all ties together on streamers' rights. Because if streamers want to continue streaming video games and not have to worry about a looming lawsuit, streamers have to unite together in a union, or an organization, or have some governing body that dictates the rules and rights of a streamer. Because in all honesty, the harsh reality of things right now is if Nintendo wanted to take you to court for every single stream that you ever did, you as a streamer, what are you going to do against Nintendo? There is no way that you could fight that. You would spend years in litigation. That is why a union is so important. But not only that, not only could a union protect a streamer against DMCAs and copyright laws and create actual contracts with developers, it will protect you, the streamer, against the actual platform you stream on. And if you're sitting at home thinking, I don't need to be protected from the platform, Twitch, YouTube, Mixer, they love me, I'm a partnered streamer, they would never ban me, that is not true. Allow me to introduce you to FoxyZilla. FoxyZilla was a partnered Twitch streamer and began to notice that she was having fake accounts subscribed to her, paying $4.99 for each sub account. When her subscriber count reached 500 subscribers, she reached out to Twitch directly to alert them of the problem. A few days later, Twitch banned her from the service and terminated her partnership. Why? Well, Twitch discovered that those botted accounts were using stolen credit cards and couldn't determine whether Foxy was using stolen credit cards to sub to herself or if a troll was actually creating fake accounts to go after her. When Foxy tried to dispute the issue, Twitch came with these marvelous responses. Could be you. We don't know. At the end of the day, we can never prove whether it was someone else or you. That is a big issue. If you're working at a restaurant and a coworker is stealing money from the till and giving it to you, both people will be fired. It is simple as that. As simple as that. A streamer loses their livelihood. All of the hard work that they put into building a community gone. All of the money into the webcams, computers, video games, everything means nothing because she did nothing wrong. She literally alerted Twitch to the problem, and Twitch, for some reason, thought that she was the one stealing the credit cards. At the end of the day, Foxy is not the first person to be banned from Twitch, and nor will she be the last. This is just a long series of streamers being banned because of the actions of their audience. You see, this is why a streamer's union is important. One streamer does not have the financial capabilities to battle a case like this in court. As I mentioned, Twitch, Nintendo, whoever it is, they're going to make sure that this thing sits in litigation for years. And it's going to drain you money. You do not have the power to fight this, but a union does. A union has the power to create streamers' rights, protections, rules that prevent unfair bannings. They can create contracts with video game developers that will ensure that none of our videos will ever be demonetized again. This, of course, is a discussion. Do developers have the right to demonetize live streams? Should streamers have a union? Do you think streamers already have rights, and what are those rights? I'm very intrigued by this. I want to know your guys' thoughts. Let me know in the comment section down below.